When I was a baby Christian, long before I actually began reading the Bible for myself, I would depend on social media to tell me what God was saying to me. During that time, I would be scrolling and I saw these girls making passwords with God about who their husband's going to be. So they would make a password with God and said, if this man says this or does this, then I know that this man is my husband. And so I decided I would do the same thing. I made a password with God and I met a man and he told me that password. And I was just so amazed because I'm like, yes, it's finally happening despite how far outside of the will of God we were and how down dirty that man was doing me. I was like, God's going to redeem this. God's going to restore this, all because I was in idolatry. I was idolizing marriage and I was idolizing a man, and I did not want to be alone. I really wanted God to move on my timeline. And so that led me into a delay. A delay. And while it's okay to ask God for signs, because there are many examples in scripture where people ask God for signs, you got to make sure your heart is right, because it is scriptural that God will give you over to your idols. He'll give you over to whatever you're idolizing in your heart. I didn't understand and I didn't know in that moment that I was idolizing marriage, but God really had to show me, and he worked it out of me by the grace of God, that it did not take longer than what it did, but it was a delay. It was a detour, and it was necessary. But on the flip side of that, I was just reading through Proverbs and it was talking about how wisdom keeps us from things like that. So there's no need to fear or be weary or be scared that the enemy is sending you a counterfeit. In fact, while I was deep in idolatry, idolatry makes you deaf, dumb, and blind. And so the enemy didn't have to send me a counterfeit. He just had to send me a man that he knew I would be attracted to. And I made everything up in my mind. Like I wasn't even able to discern the surface level things, saying if he did this, if he shows this, if he's doing the works of the flesh and he's not showing the fruits of the spirit, then that man is not from God. But I didn't know and I didn't understand, and I was deaf, dumb, and blind. That being said, speaking of wisdom, it says in James that if you ask God for wisdom, he'll give it to you without measure. And so there's no need to fear. But also, check your heart.